Hello, my good friends, and happy to have you here for another episode of Learning from the Masters. And this one is going to be with absolutely no contest for Peter Paul Rubens, which won fair and square. 49% you guys voted in the poll. So you guys really wanted to talk about Rubens this time. So really exciting episode because this is a style that we haven't covered much yet, like the Baroque style. And like this is the best Baroque painter you can find. Like there's no contest. Rubens was truly a beast of its own, like a super prolific painter. Like this is we're gonna have to pick some paintings because like there would be so much to talk about. So yeah, it's gonna be a fun journey. So welcome to this episode. So how are you guys doing? Hello, Grudging, Horse Lover, and Terency. Happy New Year to you too. Hello, Morena. Okay, so yeah, Rubens, so Flemish artist, born in 1577, and so one of the most prolific artists, maybe of all time. I don't know. It's really an amazing character. He was not only a painter; he was more than that. He was an influencer, really a central character of his time. He was a diplomat. He was doing many things. He was learning constantly, copying from classical Renaissance masters. So truly an admirable man. Like a man, you wonder how can a painter, a man, accomplish so much. And the reason he was I have to say, he was very famous. So he had a big studio with many people working for him. Hello everyone. Hello Peter. Hello Ashley. So yeah, let's get into it. So as always, I'm not an expert. This is not a history of art lesson. I'm not going to give you in detail how he painted. I'm just curious. I'm just like you. I'm just looking, and I try to see what we can get from it from an artist's perspective. I'm not talking history of art. I'm not a curator. I'm not give you any expert information. But you're welcome to check with me, and I mean, already for Rubens, you guys should go on your own and look for his work on your own, because I there's no way I can cover no, not infinite, of course, but like the enormous amount of paintings and drawings and etchings and lithographs, and no, not lithographs, but like engravings and things like this guy did. So you guys are welcome to check on your own, and because I'm gonna have to do as I always do. So choose a few works that I like and that I enjoy, and go for it. So this one is let me check the title in English to be sure. Prometheus bound. So, story of Prometheus. I'm going to trust that you guys know. So it was stealing the fire to give it from stealing fire from the gods to give it to mankind. So, which means stealing knowledge, and as a punishment by the gods, he was condemned to be so that his liver would be constantly and infinitely eaten while he was alive. So kind of gruesome, but like that's ancient Greeks. It's not my story. So not my story, all right? So so this I chose this painting first because it really tells you where you're supposed to be with Baroque. So let's first reconsider, for those of you who don't know anything about Baroque. So Baroque, Baroque, I think in English as well. So it's a time that came after the Renaissance. You could say that, even though it can be said that Baroque is part of Renaissance as well, like it's the end of Renaissance. Well, never mind. Like Renaissance started with classical, what we call classical, like think Raphael, like classical. And after that came Mannerism, which was artists trying to how to say, to be more personal about not following guidelines anymore, but more finding a way to make things more specific, more to kind of make it more individualized in a style and manner, which is why it's called Mannerism. But there's no, in Mannerism didn't never form an artistic movement, so to say, in and of itself, because there's no real connection stylistically between all the Mannerists. They were not even called that at the time. It was more artists being more individual. Think El Greco, for instance. And after that came Baroque, where the idea was to make things more exciting. This was the most important thing. If you don't know, Baroque comes from the word Baroque comes from the word they used to call pearls that were not perfectly formed. So like if a pearl would be formed in an odd way and not a perfect circle, they would call it Baroque at the time. And the thing was using this. I'm not. This is not a perfect explanation. You have to check it out for yourself. Don't trust me on that. But like, thing was like, you know, in classical things were very symmetrical, very square and all. And with Baroque, you want to take things out of control and turn things upside down and put a greater emphasis on movement and dynamism. You want to make things dynamic. You want to make things pop, because it was an attempt from the Catholic Church to counter the it was part of an attempt from the Catholic Church to counter the Protestantism movement, like Protestantism, sorry if I'm not saying it right, was growing in Europe, and the Catholic Church from Rome was looking for ways to make religious art more exciting. Like, we want to make it more exciting. We want to make it better, because like classical art was taking many things from Greek mythology and all, and it was very it's nice and all. It was very balanced, very stable, well designed to feel that it's made to last for eternity. See, this was more classical art. And the idea with Baroque was it's art that's designed to lift you up into a world of swirling angels and like Virgin Marys, like rotating in the sky, and an army of angels just like coming from all over the place to take you out and boom, and give you this like kind of with art, take you out of your own self and elevate the spirit with art. So this was the idea. So things had to be put out of balance completely, and this is not necessarily the best example of that, of what I'm saying, because it's not even religious art. But this is how you can put things upside down and turn things completely. And this was the idea of Baroque: put things upside down, put movement in the center of the composition. So in the classical standards, you would have to have the main feature well centered and use symmetry in a way. Well, in Baroque, you can forget about this. And go straight for a swirling impression of movement, which was the most important thing. So try to find composition lines in there. Well, it's going to be hard because it's all moving around and swirling, which is the idea. So you cannot find some strong lines. It's not about lines. It's about curves. See? And I cannot even draw curves except maybe with this, but I need a tablet. I need to buy a tablet. So a big S right there, and you could say another one here. Another one here. I mean, there's energy lines all over the place. It's hard to follow. And this is how it's supposed to be. So, I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. And I forget to say hi to everyone tuning in. So, Atul, hello, and I'm fine, thank you. Zain, you voted for Freud. I keep suggesting this for you, my friend, but sorry, but you have no chance in there. And Jan, good evening to all. And David, David says, look at the Italian master Michelangelo, which is an artist that we are probably going to have to talk about, of course, in some future episode. Esco, how can I learn anatomy? Do you sketch? Sketching is a great way. Find a good anatomy book. Find if you can find. You can go to a medicine website and get some of these skulls, or they have parts like 3D parts. They can be expensive, but if you're interested and if you sometimes want to teach, they can be useful, especially skulls. Look, Leonardo, Michelangelo, yeah, of course, David. We're gonna have a look at these. They are going to be the subject of a future episode for sure. There's no way we can miss these artists. Go straight to Rubens figures and draw one of these. Is this an Amazon? Probably. Well, I'm gonna guess everything is on Amazon, so yeah, I'm gonna say yes. The hardest thing is to find a very accurate thing, and you don't necessarily need all the things like medical students need for their studies, but well. All right, so let's go back to Rubens. Hello, Sam Rees. First time here. It's an interesting stream. Well, I hope so. This has just started, so I hope I can make it interesting. So yeah, we're gonna try to make it interesting. So welcome here. Yeah. So what I was saying about Baroque is like usually when I'm reviewing composition, it's always easy to go, okay, there's a line here, and you draw straight lines, generally speaking, and but right there with Rubens especially, because he was the master of Baroque. It's mostly in the curves, and Rubens was really interested, just like Leonardo, and there was like Da Vinci. I mean, there was a strong connection between Leonardo and Rubens. Looking at Leonardo's work, he was very interested in one of his drawings. Rubens was a fan of because he was a fanboy himself. Let me check. Leonardo, Battle of Anghiari, I guess. Battle of Anghiari. I hope I'm pronouncing it right for the Italian people here. So the Battle of Anghiari is a drawing by Leonardo that was famous for the intricate design. Let me just push myself out of the frame. I have nothing to do with this drawing, so let me push myself. Okay, so and this is like Baroque even before the time was ready for that. And this tells you how Leonardo was in advance, and he was very interested in this type of thing, because Leonardo was obsessed with intricate systems, nodes. He was obsessed with things interconnected. Like he was very interested in how in the cardiac system, like how the heart and the veins were functioning, how everything was linked, and he didn't have really the occasion to put that in many of his most famous paintings. Many of his most finished work is very classical, like think about the Salvator Mundi, for instance. If you consider that this is a real Leonardo, this is what the most classical thing you can find. Let me find it. I'm not even sure this is the real Leonardo, but who knows? So this is what you can call the most classical painting ever, like symmetry, geometric shapes, centered subject. But this is funny that Leonardo was really complex in his personality, because even though he was painting that, he was also at the same time doing research and drawing this type of thing, which is a completely different thing. And there is a copy of this one, if I'm correct. Copy Rubens. I think there was. Oh no, this was the copy. Didn't find the original copy. Okay, so this was the copy. Yeah, this was by Leonardo. This was a fresco. So there's no picture of the original. So this was Rubens, right? Let me just check. Yeah, it was after. So there's no original. There's no original. So, but this is Leonardo that did this, but Rubens that copied it. All right? See? All right. So this idea of things interconnected was really something that Leonardo was interested in, and Rubens was really interested in. And Rubens, as an artist, even though he was very successful, he was producing a lot of paintings. he had he still had time to copy a lot. He spent, I don't know, several years in Italy, and he was very prolific in copying. So he copied mainly. So this one by Leonardo, but this is not his main interest. He was also very, very interested in Titian. And why Titian? Because I think of the overlapping technique and the glazes and working with multiple layers, maybe. I don't know why. Okay. I like oil painting, but is it toxic? Should I worry? No, not necessarily. You go to my website, go to florentfarge.com, go to education and download the PDF on safety, and you'll find all the information you need. And it's free. You have nothing to just download the thing about safety. It's a PDF. Okay, how about Bob Ross? Hello, Asia. Can I do Salvador Dali? Yeah, maybe one day. Bob Ross was a great painter because he inspired so many people to take up painting. Yeah, and he was a great example for people because he was making people feel that things can be simple if you want. So, wow, and this was making painting more popular. How long should a bark study take? As long as you need. Why did Leonardo kill himself? No, Leonardo didn't kill himself. Or maybe in some weird story. There's many speculations about Leonardo, and so of course you'll have this. But I think he actually died of old age, natural. Did I ever finish the painting that's my profile picture? No, it's actually the canvas was crude. It had cracks and all because I didn't take care of the canvas properly. So no, it's never. But I prepared a canvas to finish this, to redo it at least. But I still like the unfinished aspect. And okay. So, pretty gruesome theme, but let's have a look in detail. So, thing you have to know about the technique by Rubens, very masterful, really in control, and multiple layers. So, like, first start very light with a thin wash. He had a medium that was very important to his work. Even that's his own words. Like information relates that he thought that his medium was very important to his way of working, because so he had lots of things, lots of paintings. At the same time, he was doing a lot of paintings, and he was working with many layers. So he had the need for a fast drawing medium that would allow him to keep colors glossy, not too matte. Like, for instance, Titian can have some matte areas in his paintings. But like when you actually look at one of Rubens' paintings, like these photographies do not do injustice to the masterful work of Rubens. But I can tell you that when you're in front of it, the colors are amazing. They pop out so much. Because it's all about overlapping layers, and So you can see kind of the underpainting right there. You can see how it's a little bit light, this part, and that all the other things are added on top of it. See, I don't know if there's another part where we can see it. You can see part of the underpainting right there around the edges. Let me check. Well, it's pretty well covered. Well, these feathers are amazing as well. And then after that, some grays, and then some more colors, some grays, some more colors, and then some opaque colors to put the highlights, and finally some glazes. Use a lot of glazes. Not so much in this painting though. Like, let's say here, see glazes, a lot of alizarin crimson. You don't see it so much in this painting, but sometimes it's even too much, which makes lots of paintings with Rubens feel a little bit pinkish, very pinkish, sometimes too much. It's not even that he used a grisaille Zayn, it's that, so he would just do, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe he used several techniques and so on, I don't know. But like, it's mostly a thin wash, so everything was drawn first. So he would make drawings. We have lots of examples of drawings, so he would solve most of the issues with drawings first. And he didn't work a lot from models as well. So this is why many of his the faces often look similar. They have a similar feeling to them. And so drawing, I don't know how he traced the drawing. I'm not sure exactly. Maybe redo the drawing with a brush. He was good enough to do that. And he would put patches of color, light colors, work with light washes, transparent washes, a little bit of opaque color, more transparent, not necessarily in a very specific order, but like light and going over and over and over, building up more opacity. And when he has the optimum opacity and things look very well designed, then more glazing to refine. So it's many layers, and I'm not sure I'm right, but this is how I see it, at least. How do I think he set up his composition? I don't know, because he was famous for working without any models. So I think for this one, I think he had a model. He had mostly male models that we know of. And so we know that he had model. He did studies. So I think he would just... But he was also famous for working without. He was capable of painting something without, like, out of his head. Because I think he was a very intense student. So when he was studying a lot, and gathering things in his head that he could then reuse later. See, he was copying a lot, and all this time he was taking things for later, saving things. I don't know how to explain that. Well, I'm not sure, like, no, I'm not saying no model was used for this one, especially this one, but other paintings, well, apparently that's what people say. But for this one, I'm sure he had a model sometime. But, when you know enough of the anatomy, and when your goal is to make things exciting, I mean, there's probably things that are not anatomically correct in there. I mean, you can say that this shape right here is very kind of weird. You could say that there's probably one more muscle here. I don't know. Normally speaking, I don't think this muscle would go exactly there. So I think what he did was he had a model sit like this, or lay down like this for him. He would take things in his head, and then like mix and match and Photoshop in his head. If you if you want to say, if I can say it like this, like kind of move things around in his imagination to get a picture. I think the eagle, he had a model, most probably, maybe a taxidermized eagle, which is really cool, and I really like the feathers. This is beautifully done. It's beautiful. Beautiful. That's why gesture is important. Did any of Renaissance artists ever write down their technique in a book or something? Yeah, the main book is by Vasari. Let me check if I'm not saying it wrong. Giorgio Vasari, which did a book that's the main reference, like the main historical reference from that time. This is the only artist that wrote everything down about the technique of the artists of his time. He was a contemporary of many painters of the Renaissance, and he was there to see how they did. Some of what he says is questionable, though, but like this is the closest source that we have from this era. Except that Leonardo, for instance, was talking a lot about his technique as well. And some artists, like some artists of the Renaissance did wrote, but this is probably not usable today as such. You have to like, it would be hard to use like the actual book by Vasari to understand how they did. All right, so let's start with a new painting by Rubens, which is an awesome one of the... Hello, come on, give me... Okay, so this is just a sketch. It's 4 studies of a head, and this one tells you how masterful and skilled he was, and how he was. So of course there is a model here, so it's not painting without a model, of course, but shows how he was most certainly able to paint very quickly, sketch very quickly, and he was mostly capable of taking kind of snapshots of visual information, because catching a smile like this in a painting, you cannot ask a person to stand like this and smile for an hour. So you have to, boom, take it in your memory and keep it for the rest of the time. I'm gonna remove my head so that you can see a little bit better. And this is one of the, I think, to me, this is one of the most successful portrait of all time. I mean, I'm amazed by how great and how the likeness is dead on in all of these. You can really see that it's the same man with various angles, and I mean, just the amount of ease it's painted with. So you can see the underpainting. There's an underpainting right there, and you can even see it right here. Like, you can use the underpainting and overlap things just to make it look just how you want it to be. Like, see, you can see the underpainting right there in the reflected lights. So the economy of brush strokes is amazing. It's what makes it so amazing, in my opinion. See, when I'm talking about building light and pushing inside of these light washes and putting 1 or 2 brush strokes, so working in grays first, and then picking up some colors and putting some colors here and there, and then putting more grays and washing it a little bit and having a, I mean, I cannot even say how structured it is, because when you look at it, it just feels like one single movement, like boom, and it's done. And it's probably how you would say he painted it. You would say, I don't know, it just happened. There was nothing, and all of a sudden there was the head of this man right there. And you can say as well that the likeness was dead on. You can question the likeness of the characters in some of his paintings, because they kind of have a similar look. They kind of have a similar profile, similar sort of eyes and all. But right there, no, there's no way you can question Rubens' ability to capture likeness. There's absolutely no way you can question the skills when you see this, and it's funny because it's not one of the main work at all. It's just the studies. He was just studying for I don't know what exactly. I don't know if he ever used these, but I know that these paintings are famous in and of themselves. I mean, well, oh man, this. I mean, I could stare at these. I mean, I'm always amazed when I can feel the underpainting, and when the underpainting actually works as part of the entire thing. Yeah. I mean, if you want to try copying one Rubens, I suggest trying this one, even though it's not going to look as good, of course, but you can feel the various layers, and especially now that it's on the Google Art project, you can zoom in super close. So if you ever want to copy one of these, I mean, you have the best material ever. You can see the very fine impasto. You can see the lead white right here. Boom. You can see how the cool hues on the forehead interact with the warm hues on the cheeks. So it's a classical order, like generally cool hues on the forehead, warm on the around the cheeks and around the eyes and ears, and cool or grayish around the beard for men, and warm on the mouth. So it's like three stripes, with the mouth being an exception. So this would be cool, warm, cool, a little bit cooler, and warm on the lips, of course, like you have more blood flushing through the lips. So, and you can really see how by using ivory black right here is making it cool. Here is using more probably umber, burnt umber, making it warm. More ivory black right here, making it cool. And more of these burnt umber or warm pigment, making warm. Yeah, I'm going to hold myself, because I could just stop talking to you guys and just stare at this painting for hours. It's probably one of the greatest paintings of all time, in my opinion. Right there, ladies and gentlemen. We have probably one of the most successful. It's just a sketch. This is the amazing part. As you say, Ashley, just a moment in time. The brushstrokes remind me of Sargent. Yeah, it's genius, and I agree with you, Sam. And the difference with Sargent is that Sargent would have a more opaque layer, a more completely covered layer. Maybe because this is just a sketch, of course, but you can see when you can feel the underpainting, and it still works. You can still see the wash, like the imprimatura, and it still works perfectly. It's just amazing. Yeah, just amazing. We had a copy of one of those faces on the wall at home, but I never knew the original was by Rubens. Yeah, it is. So and well, I'm telling you, this is Rubens because of this. Look at this. So typical of Rubens to have high chromatic cheeks like this. This you would find around the nose as well, and the lips, of course, but lips is not uncommon for other painters, but having this like little stripe of boom. If you look at this in value, it's not darker. It's just creating form with chroma. So basically this little stripe is not creating form in terms of light and dark, but it's still creating the illusion of form by the illusion of chroma. So I'm gonna try to explain myself better, because right here I'm not making sense, I think. Well, or if I am, I'm gonna try to explain better. So you can see how the form turns right there. And this is value. So this is light. This is light, and this is getting darker as you go on. This is dark, and this is light. This is value, and you build the form by doing this, so lights and shadows. But on this part right here, the value between this and this is the same. Well, you could say this is light. But this and this have this almost the same value. You cannot make a difference really. But still, only with a touch of color, he can really give it really gives the impression that, see, there's a chick right here. Well, it's a little bit darker, I have to say as well, now that I think about it. But still, it reinforces. It's still a bit darker, but it makes the form turn. You can see other examples right here. See how the warm hues kind of brush off the shape. Look at this use of yellow ochre right here in the ear, because it's in the shadows, not picking up light. And this one has much more light, so it's more pinkish. I don't know what he was using, maybe a fan brush or some sort. You can really feel, you can almost see how this is the width of the brush. You can feel the paintbrush right there. It could be, it's not necessarily a fan brush though. All right. I love Rubens' work, about as impressive to me as Sargent, but higher detail. You're right, Fimax. Not all of them is as good as this one, though. I don't know what the spontaneity of this one was really making it a very unique work. Louis, your videos are amazing. Help me so much. Thank you. You're welcome, Louis. Thank you for being here. Many and fast brushstrokes. No, this is one man. He was determined to understand. Very beautiful. Yeah, I don't know. I think he just snapshotted him. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't explain how you can. But I'm sure that you were here and an hour later you have 4 heads. And you would, if you'd be there, you'd just ask yourself, where does this magic come from? And I think this is why he was so popular, of course. There's another example of the same. But this is another man, maybe an assistant, has tried to copy. And you can see how it's not the same. This is a copy. This one is not Rubens, people. Okay, this copy. And all of a sudden, yeah, doesn't work the same. The sense of proportion is not the same. even the colors are not as well applied. There's some issues, drawing issues right here. So it's probably a student or a disciple. And you see how this doesn't compare to this. I mean, you can see how how the master was the master. There's no way. Even though it's still good student work. But the proportions here are completely off. I don't even talk about this one. Of course, profile is always easier to do, but the proportions are still incorrect. And tells you how difficult doing these sketches was, probably. Colors are more unified. Yeah, you're right, Fimox, but like the amazing thing is that, and I want to jump on what you're saying. You're saying that, yeah, colors are more unified in the original, but in reality, they are not unified. Look, it's almost red, and here it's almost blue, and here it's almost white, and almost yellow. Look, yellow in the eye, yellow on this part of the head. And you say it's unified because it works out of nowhere. And right here, it's actually, if I want to take your word, it's more unified. There's less. I don't know about the photography, but there's less variation in this copy. It's more unified, but it doesn't work as such. Well, okay, it works kind of, but it does not compare. It does not hold on. And look at the use of the ivory black. So I think this is probably something Rubens himself, if it was a student or someone from his workshop, it's probably something Rubens did on purpose and was talking about. He was saying, okay, you have to use some ivory black. You have to make this part cool, because on the forehead, around the forehead, colors are generally cool. And so this was not on purpose. This was not a mistake that he did this. And when the students have tried, looks awful. And this is a very this is a principle you can take home. This part of the head is generally cool. You can depending on the light source, of course, the light condition, of course. But this is an example. I don't know if you can see exactly. This was one of my paintings. You probably won't see it. So this part here is warm, and this here is cool. I used some ivory black to make it cool gray. You won't see it probably with the light, but this is the same principle. This is a well-known principle. Maybe because of Rubens. So the student tried it, and nope, doesn't work. Doesn't work as well. This one, I have to say, is maybe the most successful. Even though there's some drawing issues, I don't know what happened in the dark here. I don't know what he used. Maybe he was just sketching on the side with some leftover material. So, okay, let's not spend any time, but this tells you how this is a masterful work. Hey, Macpillans. Well, welcome here. You're so busy. It's a good thing to be busy. And you can, always have the replay to watch. Salut Moura. Merci, bonne année et bonne santé à toi aussi. The strokes look more thin to me, like a student is understanding only the major ideas. To Rubens, it was more natural and comfortable. Yeah, I agree, Sam. And you see how the impasto right here, like all these opaque impasto, they work and they're like, puksh. How? Look. See? And it works. And with the student, I mean, it's very forced. See that he overworked these passages to make them more, but the white didn't have the right consistency there. He tried to make it work as the master, but no, it doesn't work. Sorry. Maybe he got better though. I don't know. Like, it's student work. It's made for learning. And I think because the mistake this student probably made, if you look at this, which is the original, I mean, you cannot miss it. And this, I mean, this is very forced. And this is one big brush. So always use the biggest brush you can have. But still, I'm not talking bad about this student, because it's probably an assistant. So no bad talking about his work. Still, it was great that he tried to learn. Okay, let's talk a little bit about portrait, because Rubens was a well-known artist, and he was, here. I want the original thing without the, okay, let's go back. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about portraits, because Rubens was famous for that. He was painting portraits for rich people, many kings and queens, and all over the place. He was a very famous painter, not like Rembrandt, who actually died poor and in debt. Rubens was very successful, pretty much from the beginning till the end. So, not the same thing. And I kind of liked this painting, because it's kind of like, well, how can I make this, I don't know, like 1 millionth portrait look more exciting? It feels like I'm bored. What could I make it? How could I make it more exciting? Okay, you want to take your armor. All right, cool. I like it. I like the idea, says Rubens, talking for him. But I'm not just gonna paint it like a classical artist. I'm gonna put so much color in it that it's going to look like a fireworks, like. I mean, there's reflection all over the place. What is this even like? These blue. It's like blue fumes. Is it supposed to be some kind of veil it's running here? Looks like electricity to me. It's fantastic how he was taking the idea of an armor to transform this portrait and making it fun and exciting and awesome. And yeah, of course, a good portrait. Good portrait. A good portrait. Yeah, okay, but look at this armor. I'm sure he was a lot more exciting about painting this then okay, yeah, I'm gonna do a great portrait for you if you pay for a good price, sir. I'm going to paint you a wonderful portrait. Look at this armor. Pretty exciting. So of course, portrait as well. Always with Rubens, you can see on a more finished portrait this time, you can see the juxtaposition of opaque, gray, color, opaque, gray. So opaque light, gray, color, opaque light, gray, color, and make things push themselves until the final layer, and with the final layer, glazing and many glazes. Sometimes on males it's okay, but sometimes on female I would say too much glazing. Hello polar bear. What colors did Rubens for the imprimatura? Most probably some type of umber or sienna, like raw umber, raw sienna, some type of earth color. I think nothing really, really specific. I'm some type of earth, a fast drying, most probably. There's no reason to pick a slow drying for the underpainting, so a fast drying pigment, usually raw sienna or raw umber. So a man of court and painting portraits. And let's have a look now at some of his studies. So this is a study. So it's unfinished, okay? But this gives us a great entry spot into how his mind worked and how he would create. Sorry, lost the. I don't know why Google Art and Culture always gives me this sidebar, and I don't know how to remove it. So you'll see more work by Rubens. Come on. So intensive drawings as well. Where is it? Did I miss it? Oh, okay, I missed it. I'm gonna try to find. No. What? No. Alright, so this is the original. Sorry, I'm gonna try to put Rubens back in the game on this other side. And this is the original. Okay. Sorry for this. So I saw this one. It's in the National Gallery in London. And this is really striking when you're next to it. Because it's very big. And Rubens was really enjoying working from working on big paintings. And if you look at this, you can see how he was working transparent, gray, opaque, transparent, shadows, And especially for skin tones, it's not the same for drapery, for instance. Drapery is not made the same way at all. And you can see the underpainting. It's amazing, really, how he was working about over transparent paint. I don't even know if this painting is finished, though. It's probably unfinished in a way. I'm not sure it's finished. I should look at the story of this one. And I wanted to find the study because it was interesting. Let me check if I can find it. I just wanted to remove the... Okay, I've got the study right here. I wanted to remove the sidebar, but apparently the website didn't want me to. So it's funny how the sketch right here, I don't know everything about the story of these paintings, so I'm just looking at this. So this is the sketch, the old painting sketch. And this is the final painting. And it's funny how even in the final painting, there is still some transparent areas. Just like in the sketch. Funny, right? But what I find amazing in how it works, and even that in the background, you can still feel the underpainting. Like in the background, right here. Look, there's no difference, the same hue, same tone, still the underpainting showing through. And he's building the entire subject with this background. And it's amazing, I saw this one in real life, and it's amazing how silky smooth this arm feels. And it's almost like you want to just feel it. And how unfinished the rest is. I mean, look at this. It's all underpainting showing through. This is why I'm even questioning whether or not everything was completely finished. But it was probably finished. I mean, the economy of brushstrokes is just amazing right there. Oops, sorry. Wow. Sorry, I'm having issues controlling the picture right now. Don't know what I'm doing. But see how all of this still works really well. I think it gives a warm feeling to the shadows. And how lights are opaque. And see what I've been telling you for I don't know how long. I've always been telling you that, guys. Shadows can be transparent. Lights have to be opaque. I mean, you can see that. This is not just me saying that to you. Shadows can be transparent. They don't have to be, but they look better if they're transparent. And lights have to be opaque. So even though there's some maybe transparent colors here and there and overlapping, still this part right here, this is very opaque paint because it's a lot of white, and white is not transparent. So lights have to be opaque. So what else could we have? Yeah, so this arm, I saw that. I think I sketched. I did some studies from this. See the underpainting right here. I like this. I like how you see the wash under it. Look at this. You can see the brush marks are right there. And it's funny how the drapery is not made the same way exactly. Not exactly. It's more opaque on the drapery. So less juxtaposition, less superposition, sorry, of layers in the drapery. Maybe 1 or 2 layers, maybe the drapery was done with only 1 layer, or maybe 2 layers. So 1 main layer and the highlights, maybe 3 max. But on this, much more than this, it's a more complex piece. But I found really admirable how the shadows are unfinished, which I have to check the story of this, because I'm wondering if it's not an unfinished painting though. The sketch is way better. Does it matter how many layers you can have in such a paintings? No, it doesn't matter, but the multiple layers, I think, is what makes the skin feel so smooth and so. But no, it doesn't matter how. What matters is how it looks in the end. So. Bonjour Alexandre, ça va bien? Beautiful transition from transparent to translucent and to opaque, and to even more translucent over opaque, and even more to, which is amazing with Rubens, how he did this. I keep messing up my painting and adding more layers to fix colors I don't like. Is it okay, or should I start over? I say fixing colors with more layers is okay, like once or twice. After that, it's probably that you didn't start well. I have to say, like it should be part of your process. Like, okay, I'm gonna start with a thin wash, and then I'm gonna put some gray here and here in the shadows, and then I'm gonna put some opaque colors, and then I'm gonna come with more chromatic colors here and pinks and here and there, and then I'm gonna push the grays a little bit more. But if it's part of your painting process to painting layers, it's okay. But if your main goal in the beginning was, okay, I'm gonna do only 1 layer, and you end up painting 7 or 8 layers, yeah, probably something is not right from the beginning. Anyone else tired? Yeah, no, I'm fine. I don't know if you're tired. Maybe seeing Samson sleep it's making you tired. I think the shadows look great, and it may even be a finished painting. Well, yeah, this is what makes me question this. I'm gonna just check for a minute. I'm just checking if it's. No, nothing is suggesting that this would be unfinished, so guess it is a finished painting. So it tells you how bold you have to be, though, because not many painters were feeling okay having so much of the underpainting see-through. I mean, look at this, boom, here. There's so many parts. Here, 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 here. I see there's too many to count. So this is what I was wondering. But I think the intention was to finish one painting in a very bold manner, though. There's a and it's funny how, I mean, it doesn't look like any other Rubens that I've seen. I've seen many of them, several at least, like I would say a dozen Rubens. And this one looks nothing like the others, especially how soft this body looks. And I can tell you, when you're in front of it, it's even more. It's like it's jumping out. Very interesting work, I have to say. Bonsoir du Portugal. Bonsoir de France, pardon. It's so amazing how when you zoom in it looks so ugly, but then it looks amazing when you zoom out. Yeah, exactly, that's the point. It's the whole point. And this is probably something many people have a hard time doing, is accepting that when you're just right there, it's not going to look perfect, because you, as a painter, you are actually painting it, and you are that close, and you are doing this and this. So you have to push yourself back and say, okay, no, I'm not gonna stand right there and look at all the details, and I want to have a wider view and see the whole picture. And it doesn't work. Okay, it works, so I'm gonna leave it like this. Because of course, I'm questioning that, because it's not very common for even for Rubens to leave so many thin areas. But he probably has looked at it and said, "Oh, okay, it looks all right from here," and it was very far away. So why would I go there and just pick at these tiny details? I have other paintings to do. I have more money to make. Why would I waste any time? It's okay. It's fine now. I don't need to do anything else. It's probably what he said, and he was right. What happened? Is the man dead? So no, it's the story of Samson and Delilah. So I just encourage you to read the story by yourself. It's the Old Testament biblical story. So, so just have a look for yourself. I think it's the easiest. All right, so let's have a look at a last example. So see, now I don't have any sidebar. I don't know what happened. Okay. Apparently, this website wants me. So, it's a self-portrait of him. And it's funny how he painted all these exuberant views, and when he came to painting himself, very sober, very very classical in a way. Like the pose is baroque, because you have a kind of movement. So you kind of have to follow. So you have some weird lines like moving around, but still very classical though. And I like to see self-portraits though. So he didn't exhibit specifically any signs of wealth, even though he was a wealthy man. Remember what I said about the various stripes on the head? So cool, sorry. Warm here and around the eyes, and cool here. Even you could say even this is cool, especially for men with the beard, except of course for the mouth, which is warm. So the stripes. And Rubens was always pushing things a little bit more with all the time very chromatic shadows. If you look at the color here under the nose, for instance, it's a very chromatic red, very dark red. It's not using brown, not using gray. It's using a chromatic red, a dark red, kind of. So maybe it's glazed, and lots of glazes, which all the time makes the portraits in Rubens feel a little blushed, kind of, even himself. Like women were even stronger in this with this aesthetic, but very blushed, which looks very natural. No, not very natural, but it would be very natural if he was standing in a very cold room, for instance, like during the winter. You're very blushed when you come out of a cold walk, for instance. You are very blushed like this. But for Rubens, it was an aesthetic choice, which I wouldn't do. I don't specifically like too much blush, but you have to admire how this looks comparatively gray, even greenish around there. So when you shave, especially for men, when you shave, this part of the face becomes a lot more, a lot grayish, even sometimes greenish, bluish. So it's pretty well done. And like the shadows of the eyelids, look at this, it's just pure color. It's a dark pink. Here is gray, blue-gray. And this articulation of warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, always working together, warm and cool, warm and cool, warm and cool in the portraits is a subtlety that I think made him famous, and that he became famous for. And this is what he was so successful, because it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do. Can I cover Maxfield Parish next? Yeah, I could put it in the suggestions. Don't hesitate to leave your suggestions every time you vote in the poll on the community channel, because I always have a look at them. So when for you guys who want to vote for next one, so every time I say I give a poll for next artist, don't hesitate to write a comment when you vote, so that I know. And even if you have another artist that you'd like to talk about, don't hesitate, because I read them, generally speaking, when I have time, but I read them. And let's look at this hand. Pretty cool how you can turn a shape only with colors. I think this burnt sienna, lots of burnt sienna around there, to create the shadows more than actually gray. It's more burnt sienna than anything else, creating these shadows. And this glove, very elegant. Oh, you can see the weaves of the canvas, very fine grain. Yeah, he was painting mostly on fine surfaces. But yeah, really cool. Nice portrait. I like this portrait though. Even very sober, but very efficient. I like this way of painting portraits. Even though it's very sober, it's still very Rubens, and the face just pops out of nowhere in a very elegant manner. Did Rubens use a limited palette? Seems to be a lot of earthy colors. He used a lot of the colors available at his time, which to us would be a quite limited palette. But I think he used many of the most chromatic pigments that he had, for sure. But he didn't need a lot of pigments, but he used some of the powerful pigments that he could find, and used it well. I don't think he specifically had a limited palette. I think he used whatever he had. I don't know. I have to read about it, but no, I have no idea. Do you know what the story of this painting? Rubens is known for illustrating biblical and mythological stories. Yeah, this was the previous painting was the story of Samson and Delilah, and Rubens was constantly painting various. He had various requests for lots of subjects, so. Should consider Gustav Klimt. Yeah, put it in the suggestion on the next poll, guys. Yanis Rosenthal's. Yeah, put it in the suggestion next time you vote in the comment. I'll try to include it for the next one, or in the comment on my channel or whatever. I'll because I have a lot of suggestions, so. Yeah, I'll try to do my best to include your ideas. All right, people of the internet and my dear friends, this is time to say goodbye, Peter Paul. It was nice seeing you. Sorry, I'm talking to Rubens. It's almost like he's looking at me right now. So I'm kidding, but yeah, it was a fun journey through Rubens' work, and of course, I encourage you to check out more of his work if you're interested, because I couldn't talk about everything. I couldn't talk about his personal life, which probably affected his work in a tremendous way. Like he had a long period of time when he was in Italy studying, then he came back, then he went to the court of Spain, then he did a lot of things, and it would be very interesting to follow how his various the various things he had in his life were influencing his way of painting. I didn't have time to do any of this. I just wanted to look at a great artist that I like. And so I hope that you enjoyed this journey. And and if you're interested, if you're interested and if you feel like it, you can try to copy this one and be better than this guy. Still hard. I'm not sure anyone can be better than this guy, but you can still try. It's funny to copy. I think it could be a fun way to try to copy this, even though it's pretty tough. So yeah, see you, Mr. Rubens, and your memory is safe with us. And for all of you in chat, I'll see you on the next one, and have a good time. Take care.